Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because here it is, Bhagavad-gita as it is, the translation and commentary of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. We have reached the 7th chapter, Knowledge of the Absolute, because we have laid a solid foundation on the previous 6 chapters, and they are available. I have playlists that are possible to find, I think, in the mystery that is YouTube, and the book also, of course, one can read back. But now we have entered the 7th chapter, Knowledge of the Absolute, and I will read text 2. Gyanang te hang savigyanam idang vaksyam yasheshataha yajgyatva neha bhuyo nyaj gyatavyam avashishyate. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. And, English isn't my first language, but I have a suspicion that even if it is, numinous may not be one of those words you use daily in your sentences. In the translation from Sanskrit, these words are made, Jnanam is translated as phenomenal knowledge, and that is knowledge of that which is of this material world. And Vijnanam is translated into numinous, and Vijnanam is deeper knowledge, more knowledge, realized knowledge, and especially here it refers to that which is of the spiritual nature. I will read the purport. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. So we've been building up to that. We're hearing it. I mean, this world, we can see it, but we cannot fully understand it if we don't understand its connection to the spirit, us, the spirit living entities, and the supreme, who is the supreme spiritual person, and who is the source of everything, both spiritual and material. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession, directly from the Lord. Therefore one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas, Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.3 says, Kasmin u bhagavo vigyate sarvam idang vigyatang bhavatiti. Yes, so this is the beginning of this chapter. We're entering to the knowledge, and knowledge, we have a lot of knowledge, but some of that knowledge is more in the category of information. We can make lists, we can make categories, but deep knowledge means also understanding the cause, the source. Where does things come from? How do they work? How do they hold together? What is the bigger picture? And in that bigger picture, where am I? So these 2 categories, that which is spiritual, that which is material, are often missed today, because we have so many subjects of knowledge, we have so many sciences, so much research, so much technology, but how it connects to the spirit soul, us, is not necessarily known, and therefore how do we fit into this picture becomes a little difficult to understand. And we look around us, and sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't see it, but sometimes we see this existential helplessness in the face of a world that is very confusing. But understanding how we, the spirit souls, fit into this world, but also understand how this world works. And then the third factor here is the supreme, that is beyond it all, and also before everything, the first, the source, the beginning of everything, then we can start to live in a world that makes sense. I will read text 3 as well. Manushyanang sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanang kaschin mang veti tatvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. This is also one of those verses. You can put them on the list for studying a little bit extra and maybe learning by heart. So, it is no surprise here that Arjuna has these questions, because he's representing all of us. And from all of us, not very many are looking for that perfection. And of those who are looking for it, not very many has reached it. Because we can see in this world, there are many fields of knowledge. There are many, there are many paths to perfection, professionally, educationally, in different sports, in different arts. One can endeavor to master one's field and to make advancement. But all of those fields, they are just different aspects of this material world. And if we don't understand the connection to the spiritual nature of ourselves, and also the connection to the Supreme Spirit, to God, then whatever perfection and knowledge we achieve, it will only be very limited, because the scope will not go outside of this material world. I'll read the purport. There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. So that's basically all the different kinds of yogis. They are the 1 in 1,000 who try to aim for that self-realization. But out of those who reach some level of spiritual realization, maybe 1 in 1,000 of those are looking to actually know the Supreme and to understand our relationship to Him. So 1 in 1,000,000. Of course, we have many millions of people here, so there is room for everyone of us to fit into this last category. And actually there's room for everybody. Krishna is welcoming everyone. This is not Krishna's putting any limits on who is invited to take this to self-realization. This is more of a statement of fact. We look around in the world and we see a lot of people are not interested in spiritual self-realization. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. So this is not an offensive statement. This is a fact. This is what we have in common with the animals. We eat and we sleep, otherwise we die. We procreate and we defend ourselves in this world, otherwise we also die. And this is happening, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what is a problem is, if as human beings, if we don't lift our eyes a little bit, if we don't get a wider horizon, trying to also understand the spiritual sides of ourselves and of everything, and that seeing in that direction where we can actually go where we can achieve, then that's a misuse of the human form of life. It is not that it's a big offense to say, oh, you are just like an animal, you're eating and sleeping, because it's a fact. We are like animals, we are eating and sleeping. But as human beings, we have access to another dimension. We have access to add a spiritual dimension into our lives. And if we don't, it is such a waste of our life, of our time. So we can take it like that. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by jnana yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Person, but at the same time, he's beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. So we spoke about that, how the Supreme is one. Sometimes we hear of this oneness. So the Supreme, it is not that, the different yoga systems aim for different truths. No, there is one Supreme truth, and that is Krishna. So when we realize Brahman, the spiritual effulgence or the spiritual oneness of all living beings, that is one aspect of Krishna. That is not something different than Krishna. It's just that our realization of him has come to that level only. And there is more to see. And Paramatma is the localized aspect of the Supreme that comes with us. The spirit soul is situated in the heart, lifetime after lifetime, species after species, different countries, different planets, different universe. Spirit soul remains the same. And super soul comes with him. And there is a little statement about they are likened to two birds sitting in a tree, and one bird is just focusing on the tree, looking at the fruits, trying to find the fruit, enjoying the fruit, sometimes enjoying, sometimes suffering, because some fruits are very nice and some are sour and bitter or rotten, and that's life. We try to enjoy so many things. Sometimes we succeed and sometimes we don't. The other bird is like the friend. He's just sitting there waiting for his friend to turn to him. And that is super soul in our hearts. So that is how we can connect to the Supreme while we're in this material world. And that's one level of realization. But the complete realization of Krishna as a person in his own spiritual abode, enjoying with his devotees, doing so many things, having a personality. He's not just a principle. When we speak of God, sometimes we speak of God, sometimes we speak of him as the Father. But with our own Father, we know him. We know what size shoes he wears, what type of music he likes, what food he likes to eat. We know him as a person. He's not just a principle. It's not somebody who, a function that pays the bills and brings in the food. No, he's an actual real person who also happens to have children. So God is like that. He's a real actual person. I don't think we know what size of shoes he wears, but we know how beautiful his lotus feet are. They are so soft and pink, and they are traversing all over Vrindavan, and then it makes footprints, and everybody sees them, and they are reminded of Krishna, and everybody agrees that they will preserve these footprints, so the animals don't walk on them, the human beings don't walk on them, the wind doesn't blow over them, because this is Krishna's abode. So there's so many things to be known. So if we realize Paramatma, we realize Brahman, that is seeing a part of Krishna, but there is still the next step to come to that point where we connect with Krishna as a person. And that is easier, but at the same time, it's not really fulfilling to the soul. It is not really finding the complete self-realization even, because we are persons in as much that we relate to the Supreme Person. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna, although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripad Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna even though one has transcendental realization of the impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govinda. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. This is from the Brahma Samhita. It is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotion and service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Prabhupada has translated a summary study that we call Nectar of Devotion. So it's available. Sruti smriti puranadi pancharatra vidhingvina ekantiki harer bhaktir utpattayeva kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishad, Puranas and Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. So it's interesting because we hear of these yoga paths, and then sometimes Prabhupada says, and even Krishna says, that these are more difficult and Bhakti Yoga is more easy. And here Prabhupada suddenly says, well, Bhakti Yoga, it's not so easy. It's difficult for these persons who have even mastered very difficult parts of yoga and jnana, but they cannot do Bhakti. So why is that? Actually, the main difficulty with Bhakti is the fact that it is all about love of Godhead. And if you don't have that love, and you try to do it out of duty, it becomes difficult because it doesn't give you anything else. If you study jnana, you can also achieve a certain level of respect in society and a certain sense of self-worth that you're actually good at this. You have all this knowledge, you're very learned, people will come to you and they will respect you. A yogi is also a difficult path, but there are so many side benefits. We have this yogic perfection, anima lagima. I'm sorry, I don't have them by heart, but you become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. You can reach your arm out to anywhere and pick a fruit or bring anything you like. You can influence others' minds. So many achievements are there. The difficulty with Bhakti means I come before Krishna and say, I'm just your servant. I'm just bowing down to you. Whatever I have done in this life or previous lives, whatever I consider myself, great or small, I'm just a tiny little part and parcel of you. My dear Lord, please accept me as your servant. Please engage me in your service. This is very difficult. We have a nice temple out in the countryside, south from Stockholm, and sometimes people come to visit. They come into the temple and it's rustic, it's simple, but it's also quite beautiful. And they can come in and they can listen to the music and eat the food and sometimes hear the speeches. But as devotees, when we enter Krishna's temple, we start by bowing our head down, touching our head to the ground before the Lord. This is very difficult to do. Physically, it's not difficult. But that ahankara, that false ego, the whole reason we are in this world in the first place is I'm not the servant of anyone. I'm independent. I'm actually quite great. Why should I bow down to anyone? That is the obstacle. That is the main obstacle. But therefore we have a process of practice. Sadhana bhakti means we practice in a regulated way, which also we just read here. If you start to do, a homemade form of bhakti, when you invent the way you do it, that creates a disturbance because it may not fit in with how other people live, and also it's not very effective because love of God means we want to please Krishna, and therefore when he gives the instructions to us, that's how we please him, not by avoiding his instructions. So it's a very personal thing, it's a very deep thing. Our process is definitely easier and simpler to perform, but to be able to pick up that conviction that this is what we want to do, not so easy. It is not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muyanti Yatsureyaha, Mang tu Veda Nakashchana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then Samahatma Sudurlabha, such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is, Tattvataha, even though one is a great scholar or philosopher. Only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna. his being the cause of all causes, his omnipotence and opulence, and his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Yes, so that is the aspect of it. Krishna is a person, and he wants to invite us. But if we don't accept his invitation, if you're invited and said, this is the address, this is the door, come here and we will meet. And then someone said, yeah, I don't think I want to go there. I'd rather go to the library, or I'd rather go to the beach. And I could meet you there maybe. But no, Krishna won't be there. Or he will be there, but he will not be accessible. We accept his invitation, and it will take some time, because in our heart we have a certain long cultivated stubbornness to not open up to Krishna. But at the same time, we come in this life, we come to the point where we are actually prepared. So many lives I have spent in this material world. Now I'm here as a human being. I have access to the Bhagavad-gita. It is actually possible for me to come closer to Krishna. Let me take to that process. But very rare. Out of many thousands of men, someone might start at some form of self-realization, yoga, religion, seriously. And out of many of thousands of those, one person may reach Krishna. But there's room for all of us, of course, but at least we'll have to come to this point where we take seriously to this whole concept. It's a different worldview, really. Seeing the world, seeing ourselves, but seeing how this is all part of God's creation. And if one thing would be important and valuable to achieve, it is connecting to that God who gave everything to us and who has his own spiritual abode. Therefore it is said, Ata Shri Krishna nama dina bhavit grayam indriye sevon mukhe hidivado svayameva spuratyadaha. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this is the invitation. But it's not it's not a blind date with Krishna. We learn the knowledge, we do the practice, and then we can gain more and more trust in how this is actually a valuable thing. And thank you very much for coming here and listening. Below I'll have some links for finding the Bhagavad-gita in your language, maybe even. We have translated it into many languages. Links to finding the Krishna temple in your part of the world. And I'd be very happy to see some comments or questions. I'll come back and reply to them as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.